there it is. Only took a week, but this arrived yesterday afternoon from Golby's. Let's get this motherfucker installed. So yeah, it's taken a week, but I finally got my genuine pump, which means I'm going to be able to get in the car and finally properly dial in that port injection to make sure everything's working fine on full E85. Now I do just want to apologise quickly because everything seems to be taking much longer with this car, which is just behind the camera, than I ever thought it would. And unfortunately, a lot of it's just down to everything that's going on in the world. The warehouse, if you've been following this channel for a couple of years, you'll know that this is normally nearly full to the roof, and it's not at the moment. That's because our shipments are now 2.5 months behind what they should be, and it's causing some stress, to say the least. Yeah, it's a bit hard to pay your bills when you haven't got any stock to sell. Anyway, let's get this genuine Walbro opened. Now, if you've been following the 335 build, you'll know that I've been buying the cheap Walbro copies. This is the first genuine one that I've got, so I thought it'd be interesting to see what you get in the box. And in case you're wondering, the Walbros are imported into Australia by TI Automotive. I'm not exactly sure how that company or subsidiary works, but we have one genuine Walbro pump. It does say made in the US of A, which is good. And the fitting kit is a bit different to what we get on the aftermarket or the copies that I've been buying. It's got solid fuel hose, where those China ones come with that rubber hose, which you would have seen fails. I'll put the link to that fail video up there. The filter material, or filter, is definitely a different design to the copies. That'll be interesting. I'll have the other one out in a minute and we'll have a proper comparison. Just some hose clamps and a few other bits and pieces. All right, I'm going to get the fuel pump assembly out and we'll get this one swapped in. So I have removed the one that was making the squealing noise from the bucket. Yeah, just something I want to point out quickly, as I'm dripping E85 all over me. The obvious difference that I noticed as soon as I opened the genuine one, the filters are different. So that's the genuine Walbro and that's the Chinese copy. If you haven't seen how I put this bucket together, I'll put a link to that one up in the corner, but this is basically a hacked up factory bucket that I've turned into a bucketless system and then wedged the two 460s in there. Something I'm going to change. Now, I had my main fuel pump, which has been in the car for nearly 6 months now, running E60, doing a good job, but again, it was one of the cheap ones. I'm going to make that the secondary pump to kick in for the port injection. Now, that's for a few reasons. I've got it positioned towards the front of the main tank, or away from the fuel sender, which is just on the back here. And the bigger fuel filter on the bottom of the pump would probably interfere with the fuel sender. So I'm going to flick it around the other way, so it's definitely going to be out of the way. So I'll get on with that. I just realised I missed half the time lapse, but she is all back together. I got the new one coming out the back. I called it the front before, but that will basically sit front of the car's here, back of the car's here. So as you're getting low on fuel and you move forwards, the fuel will be at the back. So that's my logic behind that. So hopefully that'll get the best fuel feed. So anyway, let's go and put it back in the car. So I do apologise. I'm just sort of excited to get this back in. I didn't film putting the pump back in, but that assembly is now in. And I'm just going to do the same thing that we were doing before and see if we get that squeal. So I'll take my microphone, I'll place it down near the pump where it was before, and that will turn, if I short this out, it'll turn the other pump on. She's all nice and quiet, no more squealing, sounds like a normal fuel pump. All right, I'm going to get it back together and see how it starts. So I'm driving around, oil's nearly at temp, and we're still in map 7. Just accelerate and see what happens. Okay, I was keeping an eye on fuel pressure then, and it did stay at, it was in the 60s. Felt good. I've forgotten how good this gearbox shifts now. It's funny, I haven't driven the car in a week and it all just feels a bit weird. It's like, is that a new rattle? Anyway, that was the first acceleration. I thought I'd just record it in case something went dire. I'm going to go and put it through its paces, and I'll see you guys when I've got some useful information. Alright, so, been watching the dials. I haven't actually done a proper log yet, so you're going to come with us for the log. Logs are kind of exciting because you have to completely wind out third gear. I've got a little bit of a go to get to the safe zone. We're in sports auto, but we'll switch into manual. And you got to make sure traction control's off. You don't want anything cutting in. And I guess the idea with a log is to take the engine all the way through its rev range and just make sure that it's not doing anything weird with the timing. You can see the trims there. Actually, yeah, obviously I've got the JB4 gauges up. I'm looking at the trims and the fuel pressure. They're my, and AFRs. They're my main concern at the moment. I also want to make sure we're getting reasonable boost. And if you remember from the previous video, the trims are the DME trying to get the correct AFR ratio. So the higher the trims are, the engine's running lean. The lower they are, it's running rich. Okay, so everything's off. We will start logging. I'll wind it on. And I'm wide open throttle now. There's a little bit of a hesitation there when I first went wide open throttle. Cool. So that's the first log. Do get up to a reasonable speed. And I didn't get a chance to actually look at that, so you guys will know if the trims went funny. But I'll pull over shortly and we'll actually check out the graph. Okay, so I'm just having a quick look at the log, and I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but from that last log session that I was doing in the previous video on this car, I'd wound the fuel bias down to 35 across all the RPM range, and now on a full power run, and I'll overlay this over the screen, but you can basically see, checking out the purple and the green wire that are on their own up in that top left corner, the trims. So they are now, they're not bottoming out anymore. They're hitting, what do they hit down the bottom here? They hit in the teens. Yeah, teens. So they're better, but we're still getting a little bit too much fuel in that sort of between, say, 3,000 RPM and 5,000 RPM. So I'm going to knock that down a little bit more to 30, and we'll do another log. So we'll go and see if we've got that sorted. And I've got to remember to have traction off. We'll be in manual mode. And we're off. Felt better. God, it's so naughty. She's feeling really good. That felt like quite a clean pull. Again, you'll see me in a few seconds and we'll see what the log looked like. Okay, so just have another quick look at the log, which you should see on the screen any second now. The trims are now sort of staying in the 20s. Actually, no, we do go into the teens there a little bit. So we're around the 20 to 30 in the first part of the run, which is all good. That's what we wanted. We're not going too rich now. You can see on the meth trace, the turquoise line at the bottom, the port injection is not running for that much. As soon as the boost comes down under 15, it pretty much shuts off, which is what it's supposed to do anyway. But as soon as the port injection shuts off, you can see the high pressure fuel pump's got to start working hard again. So I think what I'm going to do from this point on is go back and have a proper look at this log and just make sure everything's fine, and just check a few other things on the car. I haven't actually checked timing since I've been here. But aside from that, we've definitely got good low pressure fuel pressure. It's not dropping below 60 anymore, even with the port injection really kicking in. So that's all good. That Walbro doesn't seem to be performing any different to the Chinese pump that I was using as the main fuel pump. The other thing I have noticed, which is a little bit concerning, my high pressure fuel pump over here is getting down to 8. Actually, no, that's after I've shut the throttle off, but on that point there, it is hitting 9. So that's something I just want to have a bit of a think about, do some research on to make sure we're safe. But that's going to do it for this video. I've got low fuel pressure working, and I'm running in a sort of safe area within the trim's allowance. So from this point on, I'm going to add some more E85 and go to a full E85 mix. And I've got to go through all this process again. I might not do a video on tuning the E85 because it's going to be the same thing, just getting the trims right. But the next video you see will be us seeing if this is actually any quicker. I don't know. I think it is. It definitely feels quicker in the low end. Something I have noticed that I do want to talk about, when I was doing those first logs, if I do a manual shift from first to second, it feels like it's cutting power in second. Never felt that before. It is a bit weird, like it'll pull really strong in first, then it sort of flat lines through the rev range. Don't know what's going on there, just thought I'd mention it in case it turns into a problem that you hear about in a couple of days. Anyway guys, look, thank you very much for watching. Sorry this video wasn't finished a week ago, but we're getting there. Looking forward to trying this on full 85, which I'll probably fill up tonight on the way home from work. All right guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.